it's Julianna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to discuss the best etude books for intermediate clarinet players that have worked well in my clarinet studio over the years. If you've moved beyond the basics and are hungry for more challenges to sharpen your skills, then you might find these books helpful. If you missed my video about the best clarinet etude books for beginners, I'll post it up here and in the description box below. But before we dive into these fantastic resources, if you haven't already, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. That way you won't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. And I also plan to make a video about the best etude books for advanced clarinet players coming out soon. As always, here are the video chapters so you can skip around to the parts of the video that interest you. Now let's get into it.
First up, we have the Rubank Intermediate Method for Clarinet. So this is the same idea with the elementary version. We open this up and we see this fingering chart. And I'm not sure if this is a different editor from the elementary edition, but the fingering chart is a little different, the BAME system here. So if you look over here to my left, you can see how they have everything charted out. But the one confusing thing about this book, I will say, that has confused my students over the years, is the way they have labeled these keys over here, and then up here on the side keys, you see how they're labeled with letters and not numbers. So for instance, once you get into this book, starting on this exercise number 2 on lesson 5, which is page 10. If you look here, let me try and zoom in here. See how they label this B flat? It has an F above it, and then luckily the C corresponds with the letter name of the note. But you see this F up here? You have to go back to the chart at the beginning and look up. You see F here is the bottom side key right here. But that can be very confusing if you're learning the instrument, because you're like, oh, it's an F, what am I supposed to do there? So that's one confusing thing about this book, I will say. They don't have the same fingering chart in the elementary version. So if anyone has any other information about that, let me know. Keep going through. We see the introduction of sort of full-scale duets you can do with your students. I always play the bottom part on duets with my students. We get some syncopated melodies through here. And let me zoom out here so you can see. We start to have studies in different keys. So F major, and then some sort of just finger work. And some odd meter as we're going through here, 16th notes. So yeah, this is a good, I would say, intermediate level. We start to go into more advanced keys like A major. We got the 3 sharps. And then in the back of the book, they start teaching your major and minor scales. So you get the harmonic form and the melodic form of the minor in the back of this book. And let's see, they go from F to E major, C sharp minor. So you don't get the full range of major and minor scales, but you get a nice introduction to that. Next up, we have The Advancing Clarinetist by Leon Lester, etudes freely adapted from the masters. So this is a nice intermediate book. It has you going through sort of 8th note studies. And then we have an introduction into 6/8 and then 16th notes in 6/8. And moving to more advanced sort of notation with the 16th notes in lesson 6. And as you can see, it sort of continues throughout. It's not a very long etude book. I guess there's 33 studies, but they're long enough where they can keep any intermediate student busy. This is a nice sort of companion book to any other etudes you might be doing. We have the James Collis Modern Course for the Clarinet. This is book 2. I just wanted to flip through this so you could see what the level is depending on if you're the student or if you're teaching a student, how advanced. This is book 2. So this is getting into some octave jumps here, which can be sort of challenging at first on clarinet. So I think of this exercise, page 13, number 31, as more of an advanced beginner study, so intermediate, I guess. We have the octave jumps there. Yeah, and then this is just a nice, depending on what level you or your student is at, this is just a nice intermediate book. I would say it bridges between beginner and intermediate. Then we have book 3. This series goes all the way into book 6. I would say book 5 and book 6 are pretty advanced, but they're just nice little etudes as we go along. Yep, we have some 16th notes through here. Let's look at the end of this book. So as you reach the end, we have sort of 16th note triplet patterns right here. And then the very back of the book, we have our review of scales and arpeggios, major and minor, going all the way to F sharp minor, A major. And then we have book 4. So depending on the skill level, they might be ready for book 4. And it's just, I just think the etudes get a little bit longer as you move through these books here. So this is a little flip through of that. You get introductions into things like the mordent. I think also I saw something about like a Nogschlag or the turns and trills. So that's sort of a nice introduction into those concepts. Yeah, and that was book 4. And I thought I would mention this book, Improve Your Sight Reading. This is level 4 through 5 intermediate. If you've never heard of ABRSM, it stands for the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music. And they have an extensive exam process. I had a student that lived in London for a while, and I remember helping her like over Zoom work on all of her exam materials. But I remember her working through this book, and I thought it was really well laid out. So if this is something you're not familiar with, it might be a good addition to your sort of repertoire of etude books. So as you can see here, it runs you through some rhythmic exercises where you would kind of keep one hand steady here on the quarter note beat. So bum. So your left hand is keeping the quarter note beat, and then your right hand is tapping out the rhythm right here. So those are kind of fun exercises to work on with your students or with yourself. I know that there's right here, there's an online audio for you to listen to. So if you don't have a teacher, you can always work with the audio, I guess the audio that comes with this. And yeah, it just goes through some different exercises. So it's helping you learn things through different processes, like here with the tapping, and then going through the different keys. And there's even spots where you're supposed to continue, like compose your own music. So it just kind of gives you a good foundation in music theory. And I think it's, they're short exercises, so it's not going to bore your student or yourself necessarily.
If you've used any of these books or have other favorites, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your experiences and recommendations. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow clarinetists. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Happy practicing. Bye.